September 15th, 2022 budget meeting to order, please. And do you have a copy of the agenda? Mine's missing here.
I'm sure there's one outside the door. I'll grab one.
Mine's probably still sitting on the printer.
I'm sure there's a copy of the regular town board meeting right outside the door. I'll make one.
That's right. What's on the agenda? You got it?
You called to order, so I would do
Right.
roll call next.
Okay, going to get a roll call starting from my left.
Jamadi here.
Minter here.
Hasdall here.
Goldman here.
All right here.
Certified hosting of the meeting. Certified hosting of the
Okay.
meeting.
Certified post in the meeting, please.
I certify that on Friday, September 9th, 2022, the agenda for the Town of Rome Board Budget Meeting for Thursday, September 15th, 2022 was emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 3:30 PM, posted at Rome Town Hall at 4:10 PM, at Quick Trip LLC at 4:18 PM, and at the Eastport Everett State Bank at 4:27 PM.
Thank you. Yeah, I did find it here. Okay, number 5, citizen comments.
Number 4.
Number 4, I'm sorry, yes. Approve the agenda, please. Motion?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, citizen comments. Any turned in?
No.
All right, we'll dispense. Discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 6, discuss and possible action, review 2023 Town of Rome budget. Budget process review, budget.
We'll start
You
with
want me
that
to start
one
there?
first.
All right.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So, welcome to our first meeting for the 2023 budget. Budget time is always an exciting time of year, yes? So I just want to do a recap sort of how we've been going through the budget process. We can adjust, but it's a good reminder that this first meeting is kind of chaos, right? We don't have all the answers yet. We're just putting together the numbers. We do have a lot of the information, but not 100% of it. So if today feels a little chaotic, that's okay. You gotta have chaos before you have order. We'll eventually get to order by the time we get to our 4th meeting. I did give you 2 pieces at your desk today, in addition to what was sent out on Friday. The first piece is an updated highway budget, because we got some updated health insurance numbers that we'll talk about. So that's an updated highway budget. You'll notice they're all date stamped, so if you're keeping track, you can put them in the order that they were received, because these sheets will change probably a couple times, if not several times, before we get to final budget. And the other piece you got is the printouts from Workhorse. The printouts from Workhorse do not include 2023 budget. I'd like to have the conversations about each of the budgets before we put in 2023 numbers. The math that Workhorse does is on these budgets, in addition to greater detail of descriptions of what's included in all of those account lines. So while you'll get these printouts from Workhorse, which print with their own dates, just note that you won't get ones with final 2023 numbers until we get closer to the end. But the numbers for year-end projections will coincide from your description sheets to your Workhorse sheets. So I think a good way to start is to kind of address, now that we know our net new construction and where that's at, what would be our available dollars for next year. And then to do an estimate of what that would mean for overall budget. And today, it is truly an estimate. We took some educated guesses on some of the departments, because their budgets aren't fully done, but it was a means in which to show what might be a potential gap for next year. So, 2 pieces of information. One is the proposed tax levy. This is a 2-sided sheet. Front side's gonna be where we were at last year, 2022. The back side, just draft 2023, taking into consideration our net new construction, okay? So if we took all of the net new construction available for us next year, 22, your mill rate was $5.28. Okay, and then you can see the math, the average cost of a home in Rome was $203,000. So for 2023, and I crossed off the graph because we don't have all those numbers yet, so that graph is not an accurate representation. But if you took your net new construction, that would equal a mill rate of $5.34, and with the new average cost of a home at $205,000, that would be an increase to levy of $12.86. Okay, $12.86, which last year was about $41, so it would be a less of an increase.
Why? This one's Xed. Oh.
The graph on the 2023 is not an accurate representation of all of the taxing entities yet. So, what does that mean if you had $3,600,000 worth of levy across all budgets? Again, just as a starting point, as an estimation. At
Thank
this
you.
moment in time, and again, these will change as we formulate the budgets, but you'd be about $287,000 short. Just as a starting point in time. Any of the budgets that are highlighted on this sheet, those are estimated levy numbers. And again, we might have taken a educated assumption on increase of those. I don't have enough for all, but just if you guys wanted to peruse the. So I don't necessarily share that because I want to get all the way to the end at the start, but I think it's a good, this is what, in a holistic view, if you took all of the net new construction, what that would mean to budget, what that would mean to all of the priority items that you guys have suggested to be put into the budget at once. So those numbers reflect the positions that we've talked about at town board. They reflect the new truck for highway, new squad for police. They reflect some additions to the cemetery, which we'll go over in greater detail today. So you, at all of the meetings, as we formulate the individual budgets, we'll get an updated of the property tax sheet, but I wanted to give you a starting point. So then as far as our meetings going forward, we're always gonna start, we won't have the overview of the budget process piece, but we'll always start with questions that may need to get talked about or answered before we go to the next meeting in order to present those budgets. And then we'll talk about the specific budgets that are in the packet. I would ask through the budget season, if you have questions that come to mind, either when you get the packet or after the meeting, that you refer those to me. I will discuss them with the appropriate department head and get them back to you. But it's because I'm formulating the budget and putting together the sheets and getting you the information. If I have the questions, then I can make sure that those are getting addressed in the sheets each time they come through.
Hey, Jamie,
Yes?
the non-Dairy Cruise parks, is that in parks property tax?
That is the levy that's in the parks budget. Yes. That is the levy that's in parks. That doesn't include any supplement that we might do out of room tax, but that's the levy that's in parks. Yes. And good segue, Bob. So the numbers that you see here on the property tax, that's truly just the levy amounts. That's not a total budget amount. That's just the amount of levy that those departments would need. So their budgets might be significantly more than that because they're being offset by user fees or permit costs, donations or grants. That's not their total budget number. So a couple questions for today. For budget questions, we'll start with the police budget question. I'll have Chief Labby join us up at the microphone. But we do have that additional police officer position in the police budget, we would need to ask the officers' union about adding that piece into their union agreement. We would like to see if you would be comfortable with us asking that question now, because it would mean there would have to be a side letter developed, and that has to come through town board to be approved. If at the end it wasn't completed, that we can say that the side letter is not gonna go into effect, but we would have that groundwork done now, so it wouldn't have to delay after the budget was approved. We wanted to make sure that you were comfortable with that. Chief, did you have anything to add?
No.
I would like to say, thank you for doing this and this. This is helpful.
You're welcome.
This is appreciated.
On the officer position, is that okay if we would proceed? We would send it would start with an email to the union and say, the town board has a desire to add an officer. Would you be comfortable with us developing a side letter?
Exploring. Exploring, yeah. I'm comfortable with that.
Yes.
Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Proceed.
Okay,
Just for clarification, you're saying exploring. That's the language to the union. Obviously, our intent at this point is to budget for that, yes?
I think, Chief, you did budget for it already, right? It's in your budget?
it is in the budget, but you haven't been presented with the police budget. But there is an additional officer that will be presented as part of that budget, yes.
So when we get to that budget, we'll have the justification as to why it's needed. I think we all know why,
Yeah.
but we want to have that information available for anybody who's questioning
Yep.
why we would do
And
that.
we can provide additional information in that packet. A piece of that can also just be talked through at the meeting. Like today, we'll talk through the public works one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're good on that one?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. Everybody?
So, on fire, included in your packet, and I'll have Chief Keen join us for this. Included in your packet were several pieces related to equipment realignment, capital replacement for fire department. So there was a, detailed out piece about equipment that's is underutilized right now or is outdated. There was the piece about the tire replacement, that was discussed from a previous town board meeting, and a capital, plan that was listed out. The next potential big purchase for the fire department would be an engine rescue vehicle. Depending on conversation, that is going to change our capital plan and where we would slot items. Would also change how we would handle tire replacement for items. So we need to start a conversation about how we are feeling on the potential purchase of a new engine rescue, which would replace 601. We do it opposite. 603 is our first out engine instead of 601, but this would make 601 our first out engine if purchased. And Chief can come up to the mic and help me with the difference between what 601 is now and what a potential 601 would be.
Does anybody have questions that we can address off the beginning?
No, talk a little bit about what
Alright.
the difference.
So our current 601 engine, the 20 going on 22 years old, and as stated, currently located at Station 2, very underutilized, and Jamie had mentioned before that we would replace 601 with a new engine. That was just a little bit inaccurate. We would actually replace 601 with the upgrade to 612 that's listed in here. If we move forward with the new engine, it would replace engine 602 along with Rescue 631, combine those two vehicles into one vehicle, and then eliminating our need for extra SCBA's again by lowering our seated riding capacity.
So the purchase of a new engine rescue is likely something that we would have to borrow for. That truck, you can see our current 601 has been with us since 1991, so it's a longevity purchase. It's a capital purchase. So we would work with Ellers like we have in the past in likely a borrowing package for that truck. So or for that vehicle, we would have funds available, probably out of fire, either through the sale of some surplus vehicles, maybe 2% dues, some capital that we've been saving, but given the cost of a new engine rescue, it would be a small portion of the overall expense. I also understand it's the first time you're seeing a whole plan and chart, right? It's not something that you have to make the decision on today, but I think Chief and I both wanted to bring you the information so we can start advanced planning, right? This is not a next year purchase.
Do we have any idea what our down payment on that loan would be, or would it just be completely loaned out? And what would the principal and interest charges be for it?
I don't have that specifically. We would work with Ellers at that point in time, and it likely, we have it slated 2024 right now, so,
It's not necessarily a 2023 budget consideration then at all.
whatever we would do for legwork might dramatically change by the time that the loan was actually made.
If it's an underutilized vehicle, even though it's 20 years old, how many miles are on it?
There's approximately 12,000 miles on it, and a true fire engine actually accrues miles while it's sitting still pumping water.
Yeah, so how many hours
So?
are on it was
The
question.
so
You
the
have
transmission's actually spinning. I don't have the hour meter.
No Hobbs meter?
I don't have those numbers prepared with me.
I think that would be something that we might be interested in. Please, if you could, Mark.
And Chief, we'd have to place a piece of apparatus at engine company number 2 regardless, right? Just to keep the insurance going?
Correct. The for us to keep our ISO rating at its current level, which we'll talk about in a couple hours, we'll still need those 3 engines. Tanker 612, tender tanker, those two terms can be used interchangeably, has enough pump capacity to be rated as an engine. So by combining a little bit of extra tooling and equipment onto 612, we can count that as our 3rd engine. So the first move that we're looking for here is actually just eliminating a truck. Using that number 3 or reserve engine also as one of our tankers, and then we eliminate maintenance, insurance, and SCBA replacement for a 5-seated truck at that point.
But again, Mark, didn't you tell me at the last meeting, though, ISO rating also is men and equipment at a particular station?
It runs within that 5-mile radius of that station. We don't have anybody stationed at a
Right.
particular spot.
Right.
So our staffing levels are not coming into play. This month there is in your packet for the board meeting is the
Right,
entire
the ISO, I read it, right.
so we have to have the equipment. And then when they add our staffing into the formulation also.
Right, right.
But our staffing being volunteer, or paid on call is not going to increase or be off of what we have for equipment.
Would engine 612, would they be built to spec?
We own 612
Oh, you
already.
do already, okay, I'm sorry.
So 612 would get about a approximately $5,000 upfit. To add some more tool holders and racking to it to be able to need to carry the ladders and the extra tooling that it need to be considered engine.
Okay, so which one are you looking to purchase?
The purchase would be a new engine, something off of the variety of the
630, is that 631?
They don't have numbers until
They
they're
don't?
in our
Okay.
fleet.
right.
Right.
So there's a schematic drawing,
Gotcha.
which is purely representational.
Yep.
Would be something that would of the type that we're going to be looking to purchase. We just need to start to have some direction because that engine will have an 18 to 24 month lead time from the time we are able to place our order.
That was the next question. So it's out there a ways. And that's the one you're looking at 400,000, right?
No, that would be about an 800,000.
800,000, whoa. Oh, there it is, okay. Got it. 850?
Is a long-term capital purchase.
Sure. How long is the term usually on the loans on these, do you know, offhand?
So by town, it's 10 years, but then we could take a geo note. So we likely would do a 10 or 20 year. But again, we would work with Ellers to set up a plan. But towns can borrow money for 10 years, and then if you want to refinance it. And we don't know at this moment, would we go to a local banking establishment, or would we do something on open market? We would determine that through Ellers.
Any grants available on these?
I have not researched a grant available for that.
It's a potential, but it wouldn't maybe it would cover a portion of it. I think that, while not a grant, I do think that, there might be options like through USDA or rural development for a low interest loan, but not granting through them. Our median income is too high for us to likely receive grant assistance. But low interest loans through them probably could be explored as a potential.
I would be really honest. I asked for information about loans for roads that are deteriorating very quickly and have yet to receive or have any discussion as a board about loans for our road repairs. And that, to me, I think is a discussion we need to have as well before we talk about capital purchases of this magnitude. If we have equipment, granted it's a 20-year vehicle, but if it has low mileage, and I understand what Chief is saying, but I'd like to understand a little bit more about that vehicle and look at the NFPA standards about the replacement on it. And I know that that standard has been in flux, and I think it's been changing over the last year or so, and the new information's coming out. So if you could explain that to us as well in a future meeting, Chief, that maybe you could tell us how that code and that standard has changed as well. If I know the lead time on getting the vehicle and maybe what other sources of funding might be available, but if we could talk about those issues as well.
So I don't know that an invitation went out yet, but I know that Chief is working to put together that training event on the 26th, on Monday the 26th. And I would think 601 could be there on Monday the 26th.
Certainly.
The other question I would have, you were talking about ladders and such. Do we have any other vehicles that ladders and things can be, I know we have other vehicles and things here, ladders that can go on other vehicles that we have?
Yeah, we wouldn't purchase new ladders. We would transfer them off of a truck that would be leaving here. So if 601 was leaving, we would take the ladders off of that, move them to 612, but we need the bracketing to be able to secure them to that
So
truck.
this truck is not usable in the current form for another few years? The life of it cannot be extended in any way?
Certainly can. We're trying to be proactive. Eliminate this first piece of eliminating the 601 and replacing it with 612 purely reduces our operating costs. There would be no cash outlay from the town at that level right there. So when we get to replacing 602 and 631 with the new engine, then there's that big capital outlay of the 850,000 or whatever it's gonna. We don't know exactly where it's gonna land because we haven't been able to spec it out. But off of this first equipment alignment proposal, there's virtually no cost to the town at all. We're trying to clean up some corners, lower our costs, streamline our operation to be able to continue to move forward and be effective.
So you say clean up the operation, make it more efficient, and that, is there an estimate, or is that already reflected in the budget proposal as to what the potential cost savings would be if you went ahead with this initial alignment, leaving the new fire engine for a future discussion?
I haven't ran all those numbers together because I didn't know which way this would go, but it's something we could certainly put together.
I mean, I think that would be good, because obviously, when we looked at that overall budget, if we're short by upwards of $300,000, any dollar amount of potential savings, particularly potential savings that, if I'm reading this right, really by the time hopefully the few things that you're able to flip and sell as surplus, that's going to more than offset the cost of upgrading that one unit to become an engine.
Correct. That would be
So
off.
therefore,
off-
any cost savings that would accrue because of this effort would only serve our interest down the line when we look at the overall bottom line of the budget.
Chief, would it be possible to take the ladder racks off of 601 and replace them on 612?
They wouldn't. It's two different designs of trucks. They just wouldn't work that way.
So again, you're not even looking, at this point, with an order, you're not even looking for delivery until 2024?
Correct.
Right? And if you are looking at a loan, that would be no cost on 2023 probably in the budget.
Correct.
But to explore it doesn't cost us anything, right?
No, we should start the conversation now, because in order to spec out a truck and to put in an order, if the lead time is 24 months, we'd be looking for, agreement. Not that that we would be ready to accept delivery when it was built.
Is the life expectancy of a fire engine, is that in years or hours or?
It's currently stated in NFPA in years. So that number one engine, our first out engine, the NFPA states it at 15 years. And we realize that our trucks don't see the volume of action that a truck from Milwaukee would see. But there's still age that goes to the trucks. And you start to see some reliability issues and things as they go along. So it's not saying that, like our first out engine right now, engine 603, is just about 20 years old. It's not leaving. It's just going to go to a number 2 spot, and it's going to finish out another 10 years here, as the number 2. So it's going to be the one that's already 31 years old. Even though it doesn't go anywhere, it's currently in need of $500 worth of batteries. That we'd have to keep it in that ready status. We have to maintain. And so that 500 here, 1,000 there, the pump test for the year, the upkeep every week of making sure it starts, making sure everything works. We're just trying to streamline is all we're at that point.
So looking at your report here, engine 603, if you move that to the other station in place of 601, instead of replacing in 2026, you would extend it out.
Correct.
Which is also why we start the conversation now, because you can see how that
Yeah.
lends to the whole chart.
And then even though if it's sitting at the other station, just sitting there, the tires still have to be replaced every so many years, right?
So by reducing tires on the ground, we're saving money just off of that.
But I know it's not like a normal vehicle, it's a fire engine, but batteries and these are just regular maintenance items, which you check every week and every month anyways. So buying a new vehicle, you still have to keep it maintained. So just buying a new vehicle doesn't change that fact, correct?
Correct. But some of this is, in this equipment realignment proposal, a lot of it is reducing the number of vehicles that are actually gonna be here. And better utilizing so when we get that, if we replace 601 with 612 as the number 3 engine, we're not gonna replace that number 3. We're gonna use that one truck for 2 things instead of 1 thing. So we just eliminated a set of batteries, a set of tires, an
was-
insurance payment.
With 617 though, you just,
There's
I mean,
we
with
don't-
the newer vehicle we have. that-
670.
Or 670, excuse me, isn't that vehicle that we purchased now, or what's a joint effort with the fire fund, that was supposed to help,
A quick attack.
right, and then didn't, we ask for you to look into some other things that were supposed to help? I'm just wondering though, this purchase just seems so, we're looking down the road and planning for the future, it just seems if you can eliminate a vehicle, even though it's older, it still seems if it has low mileage on it, it seems like it's something you can still maintain and keep for a number of years yet and have it serve a purpose. That we don't need an $800,000 piece of equipment, because $800,000 to me seems like we can spend that on roads. We can take a loan for roads. Fire equipment, that's that expensive. It's sitting over there at Station 2 and hasn't gotten a lot of use, even though it's 20 years old. And you're talking batteries and tires and regular maintenance, and it can still be used. If you look at Nakusa and Big Flats, they have equipment that's older than that, that's in regular usage, right?
I
And
don't
it's-
have access to their specifications. I know that
I'm just asking, could you just provide us a little bit more information before we get into the idea of getting a loan for an $800,000 piece of equipment? I guess that's what I'm asking for.
Well, today was to introduce the conversation.
Yes,
We
I
can-
understand.
Yep, we can add it to future agendas, like as Chief said, and is on the chart, it wouldn't be till 2024.
Yeah, I
But
don't-
That's
We
a
can
year
also-
and a half away.
we can also have 601 available for that training night, just so you can see it too.
Yeah, and I don't think we should couch it in terms of an $800,000 purchase. I mean, if you're gonna put a loan out for it, then let's talk about what the principal and interest on that would be. If it was just 3% a year, you're only talking $12,000, but that doesn't return the principal. So it's not anywhere near $800,000 if you can do a 12-year loan on it, and the vehicle has a life maybe, possibly of 30 years.
And then if we did move forward and bought that new vehicle, it would actually take 3 vehicles out of the fleet and replace it with 1. With 601 gone, replaced by 612, we didn't add another vehicle. And then that new vehicle would directly replace 631 and 602. Lowering our maintenance costs, lowering our insurance, lowering our tire bill, and keeping our reliability.
And you wouldn't need any more even though we've already made a plan and had that all set up to buy more breathing apparatuses.
We still need more. We won't need the total number. We won't. It's not the 10 that we had scheduled that we ended up with this year. We actually scheduled 8, and then it was 6 and 4, I believe. We would be able to narrow that number down because we would have less seated riding positions to conform with our regulations. We have to have a SCBA in every seated riding position. By taking away those 5 seated riding positions just from engine 601, that's a $50,000 savings in that right there.
And on the chart, we did 4 and 4 for SCBA, so 4 purchased next year and 4 for the year after.
Okay.
And that first engine 601 is showing $25,000. That's estimated worth right now value. Why is it
Correct.
so cheap? Is it usage?
It's a used fire truck.
When you're using the pumping facilities or whatever, the engine's turning and everything else is right.
Correct.
So it's engine usage.
It's a 31-year-old used fire truck. That's what the market's given for them.
I don't know, chief, everything else is going up in price so much it might be worth a heck of a lot more.
It could be I mean, I'd take a look at the used fire engine catalog that comes out, and I think we're pretty close on that. And again, that's a minimum bid. It's a suggested minimum bid. We'd look to you for input off of that also.
Well, I for one endorse your plan. We're not having to make a decision about replacing 631 and 602 yet.
Correct.
So that's kind of a discussion for maybe next year, but for this year, I'm fine with what you're talking about.
I have no issue with exploring. Anybody else?
I like the direction it's going, and regardless of what we do, I appreciate the thought that's getting put into this. I haven't seen this before. I think it's long overdue, given our current conditions.
I think a capital plan is good. We haven't had one in a while, but it concerns me a little bit that kind of money is, but we gotta do what we gotta do, I guess, but.
But, Mr. Supervisor, you mentioned, budgeting, potentially borrowing for roads, and I remember when I was on Marathon County Board 20 years ago, they like to pay cash for bridges, and we always argued about the fact that it's like, why are we paying cash out of our tax budget for something that, we can borrow for? We may end up needing to look at some sort of a bigger borrowing thing. If we have road needs, we have probably some equipment needs. There might be some police department equipment needs. We're buying, a $60,000 cruiser or an $800,000 fire truck or, $500,000 worth of roads. We only have a limited pool of cash that we could spend. I think it is fiscally responsible. I did not pay cash for my house. I borrowed from my house. But it's good to have the discussion. We can't get anywhere if we don't talk about it. We wouldn't know what this thing is going to cost us until we put it out there and say, okay, this is what we want. Now you tell us how much it's going to be.
Yes.
We can make as many guesses as we want, but obviously those companies that make fire trucks they're the ones that tell us how much it's going to cost. So I think, having that discussion is good, and having the bigger discussion is also good, because, there are fire and police protection is important to us as residents and to our residents, and obviously roads are important. And without good roads, having good fire and police probably don't matter, because they can't get to the places that they need to get to if the road, so it's all tied together.
Thank you. And I appreciate his comments that he said that, because a lot of people don't always agree that you borrow for infrastructure and equipment and things like that. The only other thing, though, I do want to add to that comment is sometimes when you do borrow, all of a sudden you see everybody dumping their wish list into borrowing. So as long as we're cautious when we borrow, that's the only thing. So thank you, though, for those comments. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Anything more on this? I guess you can start exploring.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Oh, but one other thing, if we could just touch on the tires. I do want to comment about the tires. When you do go through your maintenance as well, I appreciate that you brought the tires up, but this is one thing I'm disappointed about as well overall, the number of years that, you guys have, and it's not just you, but in the previous years, tires again. This is one of those things, you have a maintenance plan, and, you're always looking at and checking equipment. Again, there's an NFPA standard, and there was an executive summary done, and they said 7 years, there's an executive summary that was done. And as you know, as you follow these things, they came out and they said there's really nothing that they're basing it on, that 7 years is the standard, because there's no scientific evidence or proof to say 7 years. And they passed a guideline that they say that when you are looking at those tires, and you're doing your maintenance plan, that you should be looking for certain things as you're looking at those tires with your maintenance plan. And when you do go through and you look at your tires, I don't know what it is, if you're doing it with our public works or who's looking at them and inspecting them, that if you're looking at, for certain things, that you don't necessarily have to have those replaced every 7 years. And I hope that when you're proposing this, if you can come back and just tell us that if in fact that's what you're basing, this replacement on, and this is what you're using to tell us that this is in fact based on what the NFP standards are now saying according to that executive study and what they came out with, if that's what you're basing those replacements on.
That is exactly what they're based off of. These are based off of that NFPA 7-year guideline.
But they said the 7 years is not what they were going by anymore.
I haven't seen that. If you could share that with me, I'd really appreciate
I
it.
would be happy to, because that's where I got it from. Because I read it several times, and I did share it, with others, and they gave pictures and everything, so I don't know if you do it through Public Works or what, but they gave pictures and everything, and they were showing what, if you're going through and doing your inspections, that, it's just not a 7-year mark anymore, it's what you're actually looking for on the tire for the replacement.
So as I said, this is based off of that NFPA 7 years. That is in print. If you've got something that shows different, I'd be glad to see it.
I'll share it.
And it really came to a highlight when Big Flats totaled their truck 2 years ago because they blew a tire out. So at that point, when a $1,000 tire cost them $275,000 to replace that truck, it really came to light. And then also to have the risk of injury, because somebody was injured in that crash, and people could have been killed.
No, I understand that, and I respect that. It's just that when I saw those numbers for the tires, I was like, oh my goodness, and just a 7-year mark is kind of
I understand.
blew me away. And then the other question I had is regarding the command vehicle, the replacement for a command vehicle, because at the last time I had served on the board, and I know things change. I recall that previously, command vehicles, we had been told by two previous chiefs that pickups were really not, adequate for command vehicles because there was really no place for the vault desk and their call stations and that sort of thing. And I'm just, if we could have more information on what the justification is for an F-250 for a command vehicle, please, for our next discussion.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right, Jamie, specific budgets?
Yes. So I'm gonna change up our order a little bit today on specific budgets.
Reading doesn't any good when
I
it's a
listed them on
contact
the
that's
agenda the way that our chart of accounts goes, but I wanna start with the EMS ambulance budget first. So I provided, the front side's always the revenues, the back side's the expense, and a brief one page out of our agreement that just shows that next year, our agreement with Lifestar, which was a 3-year agreement, there is no increase to the cost. So you'll see that reflected as the $197,029.80, and that's a revenue in from levy and a payment out to Lifestar. And again, then just showing that back up that the fee does not increase. It's 2% increase next year. And then next year, I'm sure that we will have a negotiation with renewing our contract. We did the 3 years, remember, so it would coincide with the Adams County Ambulance District for the potential of maybe negotiating that all together as a group. Still 2 separate ambulances, 2 separate contracts, but maybe to join efforts on pricing. So I don't know that there's much to talk about here. We have the 3-year agreement. It's the same price.
Contract.
Yep. Okay. Second budget, 1 down, ladies and gentlemen.
Easy
Got
one.
it. Okay.
That was the easy one.
That was good. Second budget is community donations. This budget is our can fund, our aluminum can fund at the transfer site. Again, front page is revenues. These funds carry over in this account from year to year. There's no levy that's in this. This is just what we raise with the sale of those aluminum cans. We're projecting next year that we would carry forward about $11,000 in this fund, and get an additional $3,000 from aluminum can sales. And then next year, just that we would spend out approximately $3,300. Again, with no levy, if we got other requests for these funds, those would be considered by the town board. I would suggest that if we did get additional requests for sponsorships next year, that it would always be explored that they could potentially first come out of this fund, then out of departmental budgets.
Could you please say that again?
that if we got additional requests for donations, that they would come out of this fund instead of individual departments.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Does anybody think we need to advertise our can collection over there at the transfer site better than we do?
We've tried a couple things on and off. You know, we do have signage on the can collection. We've talked about making a little short video too that just we could post to talk about the importance
We
of
might
separating
be
your
able to
aluminum.
generate more.
Yeah.
Could you put it on the webpage, on the front, on the website?
Mhm.
You know, under news and notices or something right on the webpage?
Maybe we could send out an email to all the residents too, using the notification deal.
Right.
Yeah, it
Right
would.
on.
Anyone who signed up, it would
Right.
send it out. And we could put together a nice flyer and do a reminder for the new year. Yeah.
Can we stick those in the tax bills?
That's what I always say,
Did
but
we
it takes up
last year?
space.
We do an insert in the tax bills. We are charged for the inserts in the tax bills.
Is that the county because of the space?
No.
It's cause they contract it.
Oh, the contractor does,
Yeah,
okay.
they contract out that printing and mailing.
But it's cheaper than us probably doing the mailing by ourselves.
I think we should just do an,
I don't know that we have an option.
We could do a
because
yearly
they print
newsletter.
I think we
bills.
should spend the
couldn't do
money
it
on
ourselves.
You can.
Could do it I know how to set it up for free.
Let's just use the website notification and ask people to spread the word to their neighbors.
Actually,
But we could, the insert that we do, last year we did there was a series of things that were on there, and they could be added to those series of things. But, okay, community donations, feeling good about this one?
Good.
have any levy.
Okay. Third budget is Rome Town Center. Rome Town Center is obviously all the things that it takes to run what was previously the Alpine Village Business Park. So this would include our part-time help that does mowing and lawn care, our sprinkler setup, septic pumping. This is also where the bandshell pavilion will go, and I did reflect in revenues the $750 that we had anticipated for potential rentals. We've discussed in the past that next year we might wanna change that a little bit because, when groups request the gazebo, we waive that fee, but it might be hard to do that in the future, cause if you request the gazebo, we waive that fee, but you utilize all the park and we're not able to rent out the bandshell, then we've lost that revenue that we were expecting to get to help offset the cost, right, the maintenance cost. So, that will be a consideration going forward, in the new year when we would get those requests for potential donation of the gazebo or for the bandshell. And again, we can set rates reasonable, we're talking $750, so they would still be a very reasonable rate to rent either one of those facilities. The major part of this budget is the principal and interest that is associated with the long-term loan for the original development of the park.
And those banner sales, those are one-time use?
No, we did the winter banners that we did last year probably will get 3 years of use.
Okay.
And then the veterans banners, that we did if you wanted to renew your banner, it was half, because again, we divide those proceeds with the American Legion. And then some people wanted to renew their banner, for half the cost, and then we would still have some available for sale. And then we hope to still do a summer banner sale next year that would have different photos or a different setup, and businesses could sponsor those. But that's been a successful project for us. We were able to purchase $3,000 worth of new decorations with those, so.
And then for 2021, actual, you have 6850 actual. Is there anything special in there that jacked it up much higher than what we looked at in 2022 or in the budget?
Just your operational cost, because we'll have,
I'm on revenues.
you're on revenue. You're 200,000, 228,000, that's just your expenses minus your revenues.
No, I'm just looking at strictly revenues. It's not a big number. It's 6,850, 6,850.
The
But then-
2021 actuals is. what I'm
Actual,
looking
yeah, 2021 actual, 6,850. And then 2022 is 2,365. I just want, was there something unusual in 2021 that made it
That-
so much higher than the other ones?
That was the winter banner sale.
Okay, got it.
That, yeah,
Thanks.
when we sold that, we sold 41 banners.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay.
I had nothing more on that.
Okay.
Anybody else? We're good? So far.
Okay, so buildings and grounds will come next. This one just will introduce our conversation about health insurance. These other budgets either had part-time or like ambulance doesn't have, staff associated with it. So, I did give out a couple page memo. We did get our numbers from the state on insurance. There is an increase, which we did expect, and the memo outlines that, we did have the elimination of what was a primary provider, which was WEA Trust. So WEA Trust is not going to do health insurance anymore. They've decided to exit the health insurance market. So Security Health joined the state plan this year, and Aspirus had joined the state plan last year. Obviously, that changes our costing. So with the increase that we will see in health insurance, which is outlined in the memo as far as the difference between an Aspirus plan from last year to this year, we would propose to include in the budget a couple changes. Those changes are on the bottom of page 2, but it would include a $500 increase for a single and a $1,000 increase to the HSA. It would include a $50 increase to the wellness incentive, both for the single and for the individual. And it would include a increase both to single and family for the payment in lieu of insurance. So the updated highway budget that you received is going to reflect the change in health insurance with the most current numbers. I'll just give you another moment, because I know you're just getting that today. Yeah, so building and grounds would not include the new health insurance amount, so it would be slightly adjusted.
You know
Just
about
got
what
the
the
information.
percentage change would be?
14%.
Approximate.
Well, it's better than 20% estimate.
Yeah.
I remember the year it was 25% blew us out of the water.
1 year we looked at 26%, yeah. The memo does echo several times that the potential changes would have to be approved by town board, but given that open enrollment starts soon, I'd like to get the memo out to staff tomorrow so they can start planning, right? Cause we will have individuals through open enrollment that will need to make plan selection changes given that WEA Trust is not offered anymore.
Okay.
Making sure no hands in the memo. Okay. So buildings and grounds, there is an increase increase in this budget, again, I will adjust and making myself a note that this one will have to come back to you, cause we'll adjust those health insurance numbers. We did propose two, capital pieces in next year's building and grounds budget. Building and grounds, encompasses the majority of our buildings. There are some pieces that are in individual budgets, but this encompasses the majority of our buildings. And we would do a repaving of the parking lot at Station 2 and a zone upgrade to this, the town hall building. So we would be better able to regulate the offices. Is that a good explanation? Yeah, thumbs up, okay. It wouldn't be freezing cold in here when it's warm over there.
Jamie, could we just go back a second to,
Sure.
Rome Town Center budget? There's nothing in here for restanding the gazebo?
It is not listed out specifically. Do we think that we could have that as part of what we have included in here? Or
There's
we,
no capital outlay projects right now.
but we could price and add.
Yeah, we can price them.
Okay,
It needs to be done, I believe, right?
Yeah, I just, with us kind of overall being over on budget already this year, I was kind of trying to be careful. Not ask for too much.
No, I just think it's a face to the public, and it's been nice ever since I've been looking at it, and it's beginning to show its age.
Do you
price
have,
it.
I'm sorry, you're done. Do you have anything in there for those, some of the lamp posts are looking pretty, I mean, the expense to maybe paint them, and some of them do look like the glass might be broken or cracked. I mean, is that expensive, Brad, to repair some of that, so they don't look so,
I think if we want them painted, we paint them all at once so they all match. Always, faded versus not. And
right,
once again, I guess
where would that fall in under?
it's not in there.
At all?
No.
I
So
had
we-
asked about it, but where would that, I mean, where can you fit that in somewhere? I mean, what is an expense like that run? I had asked about
we
pricing
can
on that.
ask, the individuals that did the tower painting, just, we could price it out and ask. We've worked with a good paint company that painted our tower, that epoxied our tower and has done some work for us. We could ask what that would be.
And then you had talked, at CDA about the sign, cause we didn't know about, eventually fitting all the names on the sign, but then also about painting the posts that hold the sign, so that kinda needs, it's in pretty rough shape as well. I didn't know, did you budget for that?
We would potentially share that capital expense, cause we've shared some signage capital expense, but we did get a price from that from Graphic House, and was it $20,000 to paint those posts? Or they wouldn't be painted, they would be
Rewrap.
rewrapped,
Oh, they're wrapped.
but they would be rewrapped in it would look like wood. It would,
Right,
yeah, it
that's
would
what-
have the appearance of being timbers, even though it wasn't
Perfect.
timbers.
So that would, okay, can you get that in there somehow, or see
What's the
how that would
lifespan
fit?
on something like that?
Pardon?
So what's the lifespan on something like that? I assume
A
this
long
isn't a vinyl wrap,
No, it's gonna be metal, it would be a long time,
something printed.
yeah, it would be a long time.
Cause they're looking pretty bad. It's been a while since anything's been done with that sign.
What sign are we talking about? The entrance sign?
The entrance sign.
Okay.
On Timberline.
But we wouldn't be adding additional slotting to that, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right,
the
right
CDAs
now
will have to work out a plan. They only have 5 spots left, and you have more than 5 that will potentially be coming in,
Right,
so. But we can figure out those 3, and we can see if they can get fit in, or if it would be broken between 2 years, or how we would make that work.
great, thank you.
We're back to buildings.
Yep,
I have a question, and you're talking about station number 2. In 2021, we budgeted $9,100 for something for the parking lot there, I believe.
no, those numbers just carry over. There would have been different descriptions for those. I think that $9,100 actually was for signage replacement.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now we're looking at $50,000 to do the parking lot over there.
Yeah.
What kind of shape is it in?
Not great
Is it-
shape.
$50,000.
Sounds about right to me.
Well, I mean, the paving of the entrance to the transfer site was 30. Just under 30,000.
That's a total redo you're talking about, right, over there, right?
Take blacktop off, gravel in, repave.
There's tanks under there, is there not?
They are, I believe they're under the grass, but we could very well look at that, because they, if they're gonna redo that, it'd be the time to pull them.
We're not using them anymore?
No.
Okay, yeah. Especially if they're not properly abandoned.
You might wanna check the records though, because I believe something was done with those a number of years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Ours was taken out here.
No,
Oh, the one that was here got removed, I know that, but.
Okay, well,
At
I'm just
station-
trying to avoid any surprises, that's all.
I honestly,
They're
I
talking
do
at
not know
Station
which way
2,
they're
right,
done,
Jamie?
but we can definitely find out.
the tank at Station 2? Oh, I thought they were talking a tank at Station 2, never mind.
They were take at Station 2, but I didn't know if that was the change that you were recalling, because
Yes,
we did
I-
have it taken out here.
I thought there was something dealt with at Station 2 a number of years ago, but you might wanna just check the records. I thought Chief Franz had taken care of that, but I could be wrong.
We can double check. But I've made a note about if that tank got taken out. I don't recall what that expense was here, but, Huffman did it for us. Huffman took it out for us.
It's still there. It's just, I don't know which way
That
it
tank is
was.
still there.
I know, but I think
I just don't know if it's under the grass or the parking lot.
Yeah, I don't know. how
when they
far
put
it
the park in, I thought they had kept something.
The park's on the other side of the building from the tank.
Oh, alright.
Okay, so you'll see building and grounds once more. Okay. We'll go to cemetery next. So there isn't any levy in cemetery. There hasn't been for a couple years since there was a loan that was paid off for cemetery. So the funds that you see in there are the what is in cemetery stays in cemetery. It's the continuation of the funds from the plot sales and the, one-time perpetual care fee that continues to carry in cemetery.
I don't have a cemetery.
Does everyone else have a cemetery?
I'm looking for it, I don't see it.
It's in the packet.
It was in it.
Is it on the online packet?
Might be
On the
on
one
the
that was
page
emailed.
41.
I don't have it.
Could you run the
And then budget would carry over also, right? Any unspent?
Yes, would continue to carry. So do you have the proposal for fencing in your packet?
In the package,
I
yeah.
have the back, I have a fence, and then I have EMS district.
Okay.
So you don't have this one.
No, I don't have that.
So Amy will make a couple photocopies.
Thank you.
But there would be an increase to part-time in cemetery for next year, and operations. And then we have in there, that crack fill of the driveway through Spring Branch, in addition to $5,000 for fencing. Now, the estimate that we received for fencing for two sides was $11,800. So it wouldn't cover two sides of the cemetery, but we also don't wanna spend down too much in one year either.
Do we get 3 bids on that?
We just got a cost estimate to see where we would be for,
And the fence is 4 foot high, black coated, is that pretty typical?
the one at, can you come up, please? The one at, New Rome, I think is 4 foot, but it's not black coated, that one's just chain link. And this won't include any, gates.
Thank you.
This would be
I
solid.
think I found it.
Do you got one? Oh, thank you.
Everybody
I've got
okay?
it.
Is this 3 sides, 2 sides?
Two
Two
sides.
sides for 11,008.
It's only 4 foot high?
Yeah.
It's a standard
Okay,
fence.
so just for comparison's sake, cause I'm not good with, like, is that as high as the one at Lake Arrowhead Pool?
No, Lake Arrowhead Pool's higher than 4 foot.
Pools have to be higher.
I think it's 6 foot.
Okay. Thank
It's
you.
taller than me when I walk
If
by.
anyone wants to drive by my house on
I'm very-
Huntington, I have a 4-foot-high black galvanized fence that we put in this summer. So
I'm
you can,
just very
330 Huntington Court, you could drive by and look at the fence.
I'm very poor with measurements.
11 o'clock tonight, hit the horn.
Only if you scare the deer.
Line of
You're
cars.
talking about.
Deer can jump the 4-foot fence, of course.
Blindfolded.
Yeah.
6 would be high, nicer if we can get a cheaper quote. Can you find somebody with a cheaper quote?
Well, like, this is just for budget purposes. We go to
I
one
know.
person, and this guy, and you see even on his estimate, it's only good till the end of the month, or till the 22nd, a couple more days.
Must be anxious.
No, because
No,
the
price of
price of steel is outrageous.
Oh, is it?
Basically, we had some other fence done this year, and he can't even guarantee a price until it shows up in his yard. So,
The fence that's out front, Brad, what kind of a fence is that? I mean,
aluminum,
something like that more economical, or is that even worse?
that'll be more expensive.
You tell I'm not into metals.
And I don't know if that aluminum isn't, it doesn't have the longevity, I don't think that the steel would have.
I see.
So, again, we can include for a piece of it, right, but we'd likely have to do it in sections. The other piece that we potentially would explore could be some additional landscaping of some type, that could make a tree line, a shrub line of around that area.
Can we just put the fence down the one side where people are encroaching? Does that make any sense?
If we were gonna piecemeal it, that's where I would start.
Yeah.
One other
Is it
point,
some-
go ahead.
Is it something that we could put in for, with that what if grant, or you have plans for that already?
Well, we could put in for the what if, but it won't be,
Or could we maybe put in with, is it Rome maybe?
I don't know that this would qualify
That
under the
wouldn't qualify for
tourism
that?
grant, no. So the what if grant can they can grant out 4% of what's in the pool, and there's $46,000 in the pool, so the biggest grant you could get would be $1,800.
Okay, so, but if we could at least start, like Dan said, with the side where we're having a problem with the person that thinks it's his personal driveway would make me happy. And then we could work on the other side where people think it's their personal ATV snowmobile trail. Could be the part we would go for with a grant. We could at least start with maybe a bush in each of those corners would be a start. So could we do that? That would be fine, but could we at least try and see what the prices are and go for a 6-foot fence?
Okay, so what's the thinking of the 4-foot versus 6-foot?
You're just,
Privacy, I'm thinking, for a cemetery, it's just most cemeteries do have 6-foot.
Yeah, but it's just a chain link fence, right?
you're just trying
You
to,
don't want it to look like a tennis court either.
not stop traffic utilizing. Yeah.
Oh, I was
Illegally,
thinking
you
it has those things in it, though.
No, no,
No.
yep.
Slots or slates. And
Yeah, like at the pool.
I had a question. In the 2022 budget, we budgeted $29,000. We expect to spend $7,600. Where's the rest of the funds?
No, so what you see in that perpetual care is so you balance your revenues to expenditures. We never intend to spend all that money, but it's just so we have a balanced budget.
So what's the balance?
So you would carry forward next year $22,000, $22,500.
So this 22, or 27 total you're looking at is not part of our regular budget here?
The 27 total is cemetery's budget, which needs to stay with cemetery
Okay.
for the plot purchases, yes.
And then the excess that has been spent that goes into our revenues, overall revenues?
No,
No.
none of, anything that's associated with cemetery cancels back to general, it all stays with cemetery. Cemetery is a assigned fund by our financial standards, so it's all assigned to cemetery.
So are you looking for an additional 27? And
No, no, I'm
that's
just
not
saying,
part of the new budget. You have to account, positive has to equal negative. You have to have a credit, you have to have a debit. Right now, I see 2 debits.
no, so your budget next year would be the 27,000. But if you take out what's in perpetual care, your 14.5 is just so you balance, cause you're gonna carry that forward. So really, if you took 27,045 and you minused your 14,000, that's what you're looking to spend next year. It's just that if you spent 11,800 all on that fence, you're gonna drain your carry forward, your perpetual care carry forward of that 22 substantially in 1 year.
But you're treating it as an expense.
I'm treating the 14 as an expense, but only so your debits equal your credits. If I took it out, then that budget would be at a loss. Similar to the community donations budget, that one is reflected as a loss. We don't spend all that money in a single year.
You have to understand the type of account it is. If you go into
It's
the
being shown
financial-
like it's a rollover, it's a plug figure ultimately.
You have to go
Yeah.
into the financial policy to understand the type of account it is and how it's treated.
I'll look into it. I still see it as 2 debits. I don't see, we can cover it later. We don't need to waste time on it right now, so. But I still see it as 2 debits.
We can explore a 6-foot fence, but it would likely be more expensive.
I understand.
I don't know how much length
I
we
understand.
get.
It's just best to have it, yeah, I understand. I'm grateful to just have a fence there. It's making it a vast improvement, and thank you to your men for, cleaning up the woods, and eventually I'd like to, like I said, come up with a plan over the winter months when it quiets down with just overall cemetery care, like based on other cemeteries. I mean,
What are you thinking?
flowers and things like that, and what people have to take down and be responsible for on their own and what they can put out there. That they have a certain time frame to put things out and pick them up and clean them up and,
Yeah, it's actually written in our town code. as
oh,
to-
I understand.
as to what needs to be done.
But
So
other
we-
cemeteries have signs and things like that, and you're allowed to put this out, keep it up, but we'll talk another time.
Signage, okay.
Are we comfortable if we kept the $5,000 figure in there and it would just, what we could get for fencing of a 4-foot fence for the $5,000 for next year?
That's fine for now.
Okay, good deal. I'm gonna have Brad stay at there.
Oh, yeah.
My guess is about 350 feet,
I know,
because I spent,
right over the
I
guy's
spent,
driveway.
I spent $7,000 and got like
I know.
400 feet, but I had 4 gates.
So our last budget for discussion today is highway. So
Best
again,
for last.
if you, it's like a movie, you gotta christen it, okay. It's like a movie, you gotta build the plot.
Oh,
That's why we're at the-
So if you look at your September 15th, your one that's stamped September 15th budget for today.
the one that was on our desk.
oh, yeah, the 3 pieces here.
Brad did provide, as part of the packet, an updated 2023 through 2027 improvement plan. And Pacer, our most current Pacer ratings. So Pacers are done on odd years, so this would have been from 2021, and we will do Pacer again in 2023. It does include the additional position and the purchase of a truck next year. I'm gonna have Brad talk a little bit about that truck, cause it's a little bit different. We have a similar truck the fleet now, but, it doesn't require a CDL to drive that new one.
Yeah, that's correct. It'd be the same truck, or basically the same trucks we bought back in 2021. Does not require CDL. It's like a 5.5 ton pickup. Now with that too, similar to what Chief Kane said, lead time on this, we'd struggle to have this by next winter to plow. If we would've ordered it back, say in July, they could've guaranteed us for next December. I think, we order it after the first of the year. It really wasn't gonna be here until probably 2024.
Brad, do you just wanna touch base on, walk us through capital improvement plan?
One second, let me get that one.
Sorry, that mic is giving me a lot of feedback.
Well, that's okay.
See if it-
Okay, you see, the capital improvement plan for 2023, we do have that replacing or purchasing of the 5.5 ton pickup at the $140,000. Tentatively right now, looking at 2024, of getting a new quad axle. I put the 200,000 in. Obviously, a new quad axle is probably gonna be well over 225,000. But at that time, we looked to try to find a reasonable used one, because we don't have the need for a brand-new quad axle. And everything else after that is just kind of placeholders to see how things might shake out in the coming years.
So similar to the, grid-like layout that you saw for fire, just providing this one, providing a future plan for equipment. And then Brad also did roads. So for 2023, I would note that a big piece of that is the Apache project and the grant. In addition to that, we didn't list it here, but the chip sealing that we did this year was really a 2023 project and could be added to that mileage. We did it a year early because of the ARPA funds, but it could be added to that 2023 mileage.
And that was 3.65 miles. That was scheduled to be done in 2023, but we fast-tracked it to 2022.
3.65?
3.65.
Just an overall general question. In 2021 budget, it was $1,521,000. 2023, we're proposing $1,401,000.
Where are you looking, Sherman?
I'm looking at the
Revenue.
Revenue?
expenses, I'm sorry.
Total expenditures.
Yeah, total
Okay.
expenses. So, I mean, we're looking to less expenses. Just wonder why we would consider less expenses when that's our number one priority.
2021 had that carryover, correct?
Yeah, 2021 had that really large carryover because Brad wasn't in place yet, and we didn't get out as many, road improvements. So it had like a $200,000 carry forward.
All right, but even on the budgets, we were sitting at, you look at it either way, but the expense, I'm not looking at actual, I'm looking at budget. You were budgeted that way because he wasn't here? Wouldn't
No,
you,
we budgeted that way because it was carried,
We
forward.
realized we were gonna carry it over.
Yeah, so
The
we,
funds,
in
okay.
2021, we knew that would be the carry forward amount.
Okay.
And remember we talked about at the annual budget meeting about how we would expect that maybe our reserve would go way up and then would take a slight dip because that was such a large amount to carry forward.
and the 140 for the new truck, does that include residual value for the other one? Is there-
Trade-in, resale value? No,
No? Any idea what that is, what that would be?
maybe 15,000.
We do have a small placeholder for equipment sales of the 7,500 in revenue, but we could up that too if the truck was purchased.
I'm thinking that by the time that new truck would come here, we actually won't be selling that till 2024. So it really won't reflect in 2023's budget. Just like you'll notice in 2023's budget, we have the sale of a lawnmower and a soil pulverizer. Those are replaced a lawnmower that we ordered last November that we haven't received yet. So that's why everything's stacked up because of delivery.
So then the quad for 2024, you'd probably push that back to, everything gets pushed back another year?
No, we'd still order it or budget for it in 2024, but realistically, once again, unless we found a used one, it might not get till 2025 or later because of delivery lead times.
Didn't we have 3 for highway?
Yeah, highway is 3
Yeah.
pages.
Third one.
So then if it's ordered, we
One's
just carry it
revenue,
forward then the following year?
Two
Then? Is
are
that
expenses.
what we do?
No, we pay it.
We pay it.
You pay it on order, not on delivery?
Oh, here.
We could, provided we had a delivery date and that it was gonna be confirmed, we would pay that expense, so it would fall in that budget year. We always have a couple months at the beginning of the year too, where we can, adjust backdate's not the right word, but we're an expense because of the change of the year, but it would come out of 2023. We'd have that expense come out of 2023.
And again, I think my question or comment probably goes back to the other questions, comments when we were looking at the fire department stuff, and I know during budget time's probably not the right time, but so the $140,000 in to buy the new truck out of capital expense in the budget, that's like money that's coming then out of the property tax levy as opposed to other sources. Okay, so that's that bigger discussion that we need to have at some point about how we account for these major capital expenses. I mean, roads are a major capital expense as well.
Well, there is lending also through the Bureau of Land Management, which, you know, if you take your geo bonds through them, you know, that money does come back to the communities through your libraries and things like that. And their interest rate right now is, granted, it's gone up since the spring, but it's still only at 4.5%. I mean, it was, I know, that's high, but I mean, it was, if we had talked earlier, 3.5, you know, so unfortunately, but the money does come back to the community, to the libraries, and it comes back to other things in the community, but still, like Supervisor Mentor says, I mean, if we're gonna do it, but again, I don't want it to be a dumping ground if we do talk about it, so let's be serious if we're gonna talk borrowing, so, but I do have a question, for Brad. I'm looking at some of the, I don't know where you would put it, in operations probably. When I did see oh, you weren't here for that meeting, you're looking at shop supplies and that, computer, no, they've got 0 there. Where do you put, okay, now, this is a serious question here, supplies for the staff, when they're working like with the mastic machine and that, where do their uniform or their equipment or safety supplies come in? Where is that part of your budget?
So their uniforms would have, full-time employees receive $350 each a year, and then part-time employees, get 2 high-vis items annually. And that would just be those in highway. There's, within Dairy Q's,
Oh,
there
here,
would be
highway
separate.
uniforms.
Yeah,
Okay.
and within solid waste, there would be a separate, for high-vis equipment for them.
But if they're working with mastic, we're talking safety now, aren't we? So I mean, if they're working with 300 degree or something like that, I mean, don't they need some sort of safety equipment that we should be responsible for?
All they're required for is, you know, a vest for being out on the road and safety shoes. There's no face shield, no gloves, nothing like that. If it's done properly, they have everything that's needed.
And we
Even
do
gloves?
We do
Yeah,
gloves.
but if you're talking like a high temp glove or something, they have everything they need that is required right now. So there's nothing special above and beyond that we need to get for mastic.
And we do purchase gloves out of operations for the shop.
Okay. All right. Then the other question I have is that on other sheets here, and this is a question that's come to light, water. I see in other departments, we give our employees water. Do we supply our shop workers with water?
I can't speak on behalf of other departments, but we do not supply the highway with water at this time because we have on-site water from the town water source
And where is that?
in the shop building.
Or they
Well,
all have the ability with their fob to come into this building and they can use the water cooler back here, and some have. They can fill a water jug or a cooler in the morning from this water cooler.
Okay.
You'd mentioned about this truck being an expense. We don't capitalize them?
They do go into our asset list,
Okay.
and
Typically, I would look at a capital expense like this to be a loan-worthy item. Otherwise, you're taking it right out of the budget. So but yeah, I do see every year we're hitting a truck with a budget, but then again, if you take it right out of the budget, then that takes away from the materials and getting the roads fixed. My suggestion would be take that 140, take a loan, and put the remainder back in the budget for roads.
well, again, I just wanna point out you're
Just a thought.
$200,000 down at this moment, right? We don't have all the estimation, but, at some point, the conversation might be,
In other words, see what a loan payment would be on this, and you'd have some funds to play with. Not play, but apply.
Snarky comment.
other comments or questions on highway? Okay, so highway you'll likely see back, next time also. But that would conclude our budgets for review today. And I would note then that cemetery, EMS, and community donations, we would mark as done. And then you would see back highway, Rome Town Center, and buildings and grounds. And then we will add a new slate of budgets, for our next meeting.
And that was number 7. Okay, number 8, next budget meeting dates and times.
So our next budget meeting is Wednesday, the 28th at 3 p.m. So an off day than a usual meeting, Wednesday, the 28th at 3 p.m.
Just a reminder, I won't be here.
Bob won't be here.
You want to go through 3rd October? I mean, we've already covered all these. We are setting these, no changes? 3rd and 4th meeting?
Yep, no changes at this moment, yep. So
Right.
third meeting, October 4th and October 19th, and I believe Bob won't be at the one on the 19th.
Correct.
Everyone else is good for those time slots? Yep,
Okay, you get a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have adjourned.